reason I'm wet is because the moment I set up the camera, it started raining. So no other reason. This all around us here is Aprilia's natural habitat, said no one ever, until the Tuareg came along. I've had this for about a week from Aprilia now. I've gotten to ride it absolutely in all sorts of conditions: rain, dry, off-road, in town, on the highway as well, and here's what I think of it. Now, I'm going to start this review with something that I don't usually do. 12,000 US dollars, that's the price of the Tuareg. 11,600 in Europe, that makes it 900 euros more than the Tenere 700. $1,100 US dollars or something like that. I just want you to remember that while we're going through everything that this bike offers you. First of all, the engine. It's the same one from the Tuono and the RS660, but it has been tuned differently from Aprilia. What that means is that instead of making 100 horsepower, it now makes 80, but those 80 get delivered to you a lot quicker, which means you have more power at low RPMs and in the mid-range, which is exactly what you want when you're riding off-road. It's not a racy speed maniac engine like on the Tuono and on the R6. It's more like a adventure workhorse, which is exactly what it's meant to be. It also sounds wonderful. It's got that 270-degree crank, and the noise it makes is actually just brilliant to my ears. Now, the dealer that I got this one from, they changed the end can with a Mistral one. It sounds brilliant as well. Lots of growling, lots of pops when you're off the throttle, but even without that, the engine itself from the airbox, it's just got this very pleasant sound. Yeah, whether you're riding it off-road, whether you're riding it in the city, it's wonderful. I like it a lot. That Italian sound, just amazing. Throttle response, very civilized, no jerkiness. It's not cable operated, it is ride-by-wire, but very, very civilized, even on off-road. Even if you're going very slow and you need that throttle precision, it just does its job properly. I like it. I remember doing this trek when it was pouring down and it was muddy everywhere. Oh, and I was on the big GS. It took me a good couple of hours. Yeah, as I was saying, it's very easy to ride it, which is good because it brings the whole off-road riding experience to a lot more people that wouldn't actually be comfortable on a bigger bike doing these type of trails. And I think the more confident you feel, the more you're going to enjoy doing it. Now, all of that power comes through a 6-speed gearbox, which again civilizes the word that I'm going to use. No false neutrals, no missed gears. I was able to find neutral every single time the first time, unlike my GS where I haven't been able to find it in, I don't know, like a year or something. First, second and third gears are pretty short, so if you intend on riding it in urban environments, you're going to be changing gears quite a bit, but for off-road riding, I think that's the correct setup. Fourth, fifth and sixth are longer gears, but the first three are very, very shortish. Clutch, unfortunately, it is cable operated. It's not hydraulic, but it's very precise. Riding it at slow speeds, again on off-road, it just does its job. No jerkiness, no hunting, nothing. Not really much more to say about a clutch that works. Riding position, very important. It is an adventure bike and the riding position is very adventurous. Your back is straight, the handlebars are quite wide and I found that my riding position was pretty relaxed, pretty comfortable. The seat, this is the 860 millimeter seat height seat. It feels very hard the first time you press it, and I really didn't think I was gonna like it. The first 10 minutes when I started riding it, I said, no, I'm really not gonna like the seat. After the first 20 minutes, no problem whatsoever. I really liked it, even for longer rides. I think the longest I rode this bike was for about 2 hours non-stop, and I had no problem. It's very narrow, right where your butt is, but it tapers out, and that means that if you're riding off-road, you've got quite a few different positions that you can sit on. You can grab the bike with your knees and sit right in front here, or you can move a bit backwards, whatever the situation requires. But it's a good seat. I saw on the website they've got a few other options as well, including a lower seat. But because the seat is quite narrow here, at traffic lights I can actually flat foot this bike. 5'11", 1.8 meters. The Tenere 700 I couldn't really flat foot it. Say that 10 times. But this one, even though it's an 860 millimeter seat, no problem flat footing it at traffic lights. Standing up on it on these type of roads, on off-road, feels very natural actually. But the one problem I had was that my feet, they're not really able to grab the bike from here and still be in a stable position. I found myself having to grab the handlebars and hold myself while accelerating a lot more than I do on other bikes. But your mileage might vary on this, it depends on rider height as well. Suspension, in one word, damn brilliant. That's 2 words. In 2 words, damn brilliant. Front forks, 43 millimeter KYB forks, fully adjustable. That's your preload, compression and damping, and exactly the same on the rear as well. I did modify the preload on this one to be a bit softer because I enjoy that type of ride. In Romania we have a lot of potholes, so adjustable suspension helps a lot. On off-road I found it to be very well behaved, the front and the rear as well. I didn't play with any of the settings on the front because I didn't find any reason to do that. Didn't come close to bottoming it out, and I mean, that's my riding ability will no way near stress out the suspension on this bike. So if you're a rider that just enjoys the off-road part of off-road riding for the views and the pleasantness of it all, and you're no sort of Chris Birch, you're not gonna have a problem with the suspension. And what was that? Dave? So in conclusion, suspension, very good. Now, electronics and rider aids, and this is where the Italians decided to stand out from the crowd. And by the crowd, I mean the Tenere 700. All right, we've got a 5-inch TFT display on there. Quite smallish, I would say. It could be bigger. I'm not complaining because it is a proper color TFT. It is extremely bright. Even in direct sunshine, there's absolutely no problem reading it. Ride-by-wire, as I said previously, which also gives you access to unlock riding modes. So it's got 4 different riding modes. 2 of them are not user customizable. You can customize the amount of traction control intervention that you get in those 2, but not the rest. The other 2 riding modes are fully customizable, which means your engine maps, throttle response, traction control, ABS, and what's the last one? Engine braking. Yes, you can set engine braking as well. What doesn't come as standard is Bluetooth connectivity, phone connectivity. Aprilia's also got their own navigation app, which you can pair your phone and it'll give you turn-by-turn instructions, navigation instructions. Cruise control also comes as standard. Quite a weird way to enable it. It works with the little rocker button that also controls the amount of traction control intervention, but it's there and it's standard. I keep hearing things in the forest. I'm not liking it. Clever me for watching The Exorcist last night. That was a good idea. I had 2 dogs having an argument over there. And they've also been kind enough to put this little phone holder over there, or GPS holder, whatever you want to put on there. This windshield is not the standard one. This is the additional, a bit higher and wider one, which brings us to one of the questions that a lot of you asked. how does it handle on the highway? Wind, I didn't get any on my helmet. I got quite a bit on my arms, a lot on my lower legs, which wasn't pleasant at all. If you had to do a 2-hour highway ride, you're not going to have a problem. The bike doesn't vibrate. Even 6,000 RPM I think was 130, and that's the legal limit here, and no vibration through the bars and no vibration through the footpegs. So on highway it's capable, it's fine. I wouldn't buy it for highway riding, but it'll do the job if you have to ride on a highway. So lots of wind, absolutely none on my helmet, which is good, but lots on my arms and lots on my lower legs, so it's basically no protection for your legs. At 6,000 RPM, no vibrations that would drive you mad if you were on a highway for 2 hours. A little bit on the footpegs and a little bit on the handlebar, but very minimal. It's not going to bother you even if you do quite long stints of highway. In the city, it's quite flickable, it's quite agile, which means that you can turn it quite quickly. Turning circle is great as well, which is good for urban riding. What I did find, and I didn't enjoy at all, was the heat that was coming from the radiator when the fan started spinning up. I thought the exhaust from the fan would come out from these little fins over here, but I looked and they're closed off, so it doesn't come from there. I have no idea where it comes from, but it hits both of your legs, which is not very pleasant if you're riding in hot urban environments. Fit and finish, it's actually surprisingly good. It's an Italian bike, but it's surprisingly good. All of the plastics feel quality. Even this front fender, I remember on the T7 I was very disappointed by the front fender, the quality of the plastic. This one seems fine, and it's got a very Italianish way about it. I love it. I love it quite a bit. There's a little translation here on the screen that says, the first one is in Italian, this one is in English. Don't park the vehicle with the sun from behind. The reflection can damage the instrument board. Now, instrument cluster, translated directly from Italian, is probably instrument board, and I don't know, I like that. It's character. Speaking about lights again, this little design they did with the rear lights. At night it looks absolutely brilliant because it just looks like two very diffused single LEDs. It's nice, I like it. Brakes, there are Brembos. Aprilia didn't skimp out on equipment on this bike. Dual 300mm discs, 2-pot calipers on each side, and the rear one is a 260 with a 1-pot caliper. They're not very aggressive, but they're also not very soft. I didn't have any close calls of any kind. They just work. They're Brembos made by Italians as well. Tubeless tires, again, another example of how Aprilia didn't skimp out on kit for this bike, even though it comes priced quite aggressively, I would say. While testing the T7, I complained that it didn't come with tubeless tires and it came with tube tires, and there were quite a bit of comments of people saying that no, you need tube tires because that's proper what do you call it? Proper off-road riding dictates that you need tube tires, so you can change your tubes, you know, if you get a flat. I don't do Paris-Dakar. I don't think anyone does that anymore. It's moved, yeah. I would much rather fix a flat on a tubeless tire in 5 minutes and then pump it up than spend about 2 hours on the side of the road, taking my wheel off, taking the tire off, patching the tube, changing the tube, or changing the tube and then putting it back. That I would just leave the bike there. Sorry, that's what I would do. Just get somebody to come tow it and then fix it somewhere. So for me, tubeless tires for off-road riding, for any sort of riding, are the only way to go. And there they are. The side stand is one of the beefiest I've ever seen on an adventure bike. And you don't even need to put an enlarger on it, one of those plates that everybody puts on their side stands, because it's already enlarged. USB port comes as standard. this should be standard on every bike, because it's a cheap component to install on a bike, but to the rider it makes a hell of a lot of difference, because we've all got phones, we all mostly navigate from the phones. So I would love to see USB ports installed on every bike from now on. That would just be wonderful. Another example of how Aprilia didn't skimp out on kit for this bike is these very huge foot pegs over here. They're very wide, which is great for off-road, and they've also got a rubber insert, which I guess it's for riding them with sandals, I take it, I don't know. And the reason I draw attention to the foot pegs and why I think this is a big deal on a bike that comes from the Italians is that on the standard GS, one of the best selling motorcycles on the planet, on the standard one, not the adventure one, you get these little tiny, thin, very narrow foot pegs, which are horrible for off-road. And that's marketed as an off-road bike, but they give you like these little tiny foot pegs. Not the Italians, no, you get proper foot pegs. The mirrors, they're quite wide, the handlebar's wide, but the mirrors are also wide. Perfect visibility. They've got the same shape as most other motorcycle mirrors, so nothing special there, but their placement is brilliant. I don't see my shoulders, I can see everything behind me on both sides. Great job there. And the sound, I really love the sound this bike makes. And to me that's quite a big deal, because you're the one that's riding it, you're the one that's supposed to love the sound that it comes out of. I don't like the hooter though. That's... Why do you do that, people? It's not just Aprilia, it's... Why? I love it! Alright, let's move on to some things that I didn't like about it. The subframe, if you take a look at it, you'll see that it's welded on. It's not bolted on, which means that if you bend it, if you have like a big crash and you bend it, that's just gonna cost you a lot of money to fix. The button for changing the riding modes is right over here, and it doesn't require any confirmation after pressing it. So if you press it by mistake, you're in a different riding mode. It could be raining and you could be changed to off-road, if you don't pay attention to the screen, obviously, where you don't have any traction control. Confirmation for changing riding modes is usually done by depressing the clutch after you have pressed the button to change the riding modes, but here you can just go ahead and change it to whatever you want without knowing. It's great. Off-road. Switch modes, urban, off-road. Is it raining again? Oh, damn it. There it's sunny and there it's rain. The windshield is not adjustable, which is, I don't like that on any bike whatsoever. If you're going off-road, I want to put it down so I can see a lot more what's in front of the front wheel, and I don't know, if I'm riding on the highway, I want to put it up. Not adjustable, bad. And also the heat that it just throws out at your legs while you're riding in the city is, I don't know, it's got some sort of, it pretends it's a Harley. That was a bad joke, the Americans are going to hate you now, well done. Blame it on Dave. Alright, you guys have also sent in some questions as usual. Tank range when mixed riding in town and highway. Aprilia claims 4, I've been getting 5.5, but my kind of riding, lots of stopping, lots of starting, lots of doing the same thing off-road is really not a proper way to test this. I would say with normal riding, 5 liters per 100 kilometers is what you should be seeing. There's too much noise in here! And coming from a 21 liter tank, remember it's got 21 liters, that is 1 liter more than the standard GS. You should be able to get about 400 kilometers range out of this, which is, it's good, it's impressive. Comfort when doing long days in the saddle. Filming bikes usually it takes a few days. One of them usually is the whole day in the saddle. with the camera, with filming, with everything around it. It is proper comfortable. The Italians really did a great job of their first adventure bike in a long time, many decades. Aprilia, hello. But as far as comfort is concerned, it's a great bike. No back aches, no butt aches, no hand aches, no aches whatsoever after sitting on it most of the day. Nighttime headlight performance. I did go out and test it at night. I thought the headlight, because it doesn't have any auxiliary light installed on it, you can do that. Aprilia will sell you a wiring harness and then you can put whatever lights you want on there. I thought it was going to be bad, but it's not. The low beam has got quite a wide spread and that pretty much lights up everything in front of you. The high beam, I didn't really find that it does a lot, but in total, the lighting solution on it right now from the factory is actually pretty impressive. Wind protection on highway, we've discussed that. Wet air filter, does it have a wet air filter? Is it a good option for longer trips with long highway stints? I would not say long highway stints. I would say if you had to ride it on the highway, ride it on the highway. It'll get you there, but it won't be extremely pleasant. However, I take it it's a lot more comfortable than riding any naked bike on a highway. So yeah, if you have to ride it for prolonged periods of time on the highway, you're gonna get bored, but it'll be fine. It's comfortable enough to ride on a highway. Is it a T7 killer? And I guess that's the question that needs answering. The answer I'm going to give you, and I hate it when people give me this same answer, is it depends. For me personally, yes, definitely. For 900 euros, 1,000 something US dollars, you get a bike that is extremely capable off-road, you get very good suspension on it, you get cruise control, which you don't get on the T7, it's impossible, it's not ride-by-wire. You have the ability to purchase an additional quick shifter, which again on the T7 impossible. You get a proper new age 2022 LCD screen, you get riding modes, you get traction control. Yeah, for me definitely those 900 euros add up to the value that you get on the bike, which I think takes us to the conclusion of today's video. The Aprilia Tuareg is an extremely capable bike off-road, at least for me. I don't know, Chris Birch might have a different opinion on it, but I think for most of us, for the type of riding that we do off-road, this bike can definitely take it. And it's great value for money. For 12,000 US dollars, you get a lot of bike, a lot of toys, a lot of rider aids. That Italian sound, just amazing. I think this price range was quite difficult for Aprilia to swallow, but if they want to attract a lot more off-road riders, a lot more adventure riders within their brand, they kind of needed to price it very aggressively, especially since the T7 sells quite well. And I think this was exactly their strategy here. Price it aggressively, get more butts on Aprilia seats. Yeah, so in conclusion, I like this bike quite a lot, and that doesn't happen a lot. Usually there are a lot more things that I don't like on a bike, but this one kind of just won me over. It's a pity it took Aprilia so long to put out an adventure bike. The mid-size segment is a pretty hot one right now, and they've done it properly. I think we're going to end it off here for today. If you've got any questions, as always, the comment section below is the right place for you. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a huge thumbs up. It really does help a lot. Subscribe or become one of our Patreons if you've enjoyed it, if you think you've learned something new. Cheers! I'll see you guys on the next one.